And we are live. Welcome to this new discussion about two mainstream TV shows that are currently going on, The Acolyte and The Boys. How are you, DLORD?
I'm good. I have a. If I sound different, it's the new computer. I don't know if it sounds different because I've only have two games installed. I had to. I still need to get another hard drive for this, but works. It is a. I will say the miracles of having a computer that renders faster. But then again, this is a multi-station though, so.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's nice to have something that isn't trying to bottleneck. As see, my other machine's fine. Like if I, the problem is when you in modern gaming, right? It's the rendering and the making stuff function. Like on my old system, nowhere would I dare to try to play Fallout 76 and stream at the same time. But the downside to resetting everything up, I have to reset everything up. Like I was like, is my mic going to work or not? So it's like there's no sound card in this one; it's built into the board. So,
that's
but
good.
so it's
Since you mentioned Fallout, before we get right into The Acolyte, have you seen the Fallout TV show?
yes.
Oh, that's amazing. Next month, in August 10th, if you're free, that's a Saturday, we will cover the Borderland movie that will come out the same Friday and the Fallout first season.
The Fallout TV show I actually liked. It wasn't. I've gone over everything except the last part on my own channel, but
Yeah,
it's very good for like the. It's a way of getting in the normies, so to speak.
yeah,
But it's like, but a lot of people who have, there's a lot of sacred cows in the fandom.
yeah.
They, there's the idea that Bethesda does nothing wrong. There's the idea that they hate because where season two is going to pick up, it's going to go into what is probably, see, Nolan is the same guy that did Christopher Nolan, or the guy who did the series. He is Jonathan Nolan is the same guy who did Westworld,
That's what I've heard. Yeah,
and very early on Westworld. So it has like that storytelling in it. But he was also told not to touch canon. Yet, a lot of people misunderstood a lot of events, like
yeah.
Shady Sands, like the concept of it. They go, well, did Bethesda just because if you mess with New Vegas, right? New Vegas is considered like it's like insulting Jesus or the Pope. You can't do it because everyone believes it. But then
Let's
it's
do
like,
it.
but the thing about it is, right? They said it neutralized it. Did New Vegas didn't happen? They go, New Vegas happened because the show takes place in 92 or 96. So,
Yeah. So let's start off with the Acolyte today, because enough of that interesting tangent. Next month you will get the link if you're interested about that Fallout and Borderlands stream. So let's do this. The Acolyte this week was horrendous. I think that was the worst episode we had. That felt like a Obi-Wan episode. What do you think of that statement?
this episode was basically if you sped run episode 3 in reverse. This should have been episode 3
Yeah. I think
because,
this should have been with three. Like they could like trim down both episode and smash both in one.
and I'm sorry, it's if she's trying to go for the. Here's the thing about this: she's trying to go for the whole, like, there's a couple of things. The only thing, it wasn't a really good episode because compared to the other episode, which was literally the OnlyFans episode, like, this episode should have been episode 3. And if you were trying to obfuscate or hide facts, you didn't want to give it away because, how would you say it? Because what bothered me, right, is they established stuff like the stone building catching fire by electrical fire. Like, okay. But the whole thing is the evil mother, right? It's like, because there's also the whole thing with the M count, right? It's not metachlorian count. There's like this thing that they did not want to touch on it. But like, if this was episode 3, it would have been passable because she's also trying to go with the narrative, Jedi are bad.
Yeah.
So explain this to me. They know what a Night Sister is or a Force Witch, but they don't know what a Sith is. I see that grin. Think about it. They know what a Night Sister is. They know what a Force cult is, but they don't know what a Sith is. So either this show was written later on, someone told them, you might want to explain the Night Sisters and the Sith a little bit. They know that this is a dark side cult. Force Witches are Force alchemists who lean towards the dark side of the Force. Indara literally says it's Force Witches. I don't mind him sneaking into the fortress, right?
Yeah.
I immediately thought in the other episode 3, I'm like, that was a Jedi that snuck in that she discovered. But you have to have another 40-minute, 30-minute episode to explain the other half. Now, they go, and and this whole thing, right, of the fill-in events, if you don't have to, because you've already seen episode 3, you already get it. He stumbled upon the girls, so he already knew they were Force sensitive. The High Council or Coruscant would have not ignored a Force cult.
Yeah. That goes to one of my issues. So I will actually start with what I got to say because I will be honest, I don't have a lot to say. Unlike last week,
I'll fill in the knowledge, but yeah,
it's so bad this episode. Like I just cannot defend it. So my first issue would be plot convenience, bumping into the girls in random wood in the middle of them walking around. Maybe it'd be different if the objective of their mission was to localize a tribe or to make contact with life form. But here they told us they weren't aware of the witches existing. Maybe I'm crazy.
They were looking for. So the premise is they went to Brendok because 100 years prior, because of a transwarp disaster.
Yeah.
Right?
But they didn't know there was life there, right?
They don't know how, because the idea Anakin was a virgins in the Force. Like, the idea of a virgins is when the Force tries to correct itself.
Yeah.
Like Mustafar, like, little fun fact, right? Like, do you know Darth Vader's fortress on Mustafar? Like on Mustafar? Mustafar has a dark virgins. Like Yoda's cave. Yoda's cave is another one, right? On Dagobah.
Okay.
Does that make sense what a virgins is? Like kind of what it is. It's like a collection where the Force is, the influences.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So, like, there's Dark Side. There's also one on Coruscant underneath the Jedi Temple. Now, maybe they didn't know what a virgin was. Like Anakin was a virgin in the Force as well. Because that's what they're trying to explain. How does a virgin in the Force happen?
Yeah.
And that's what they've been searching for. That's why it looks really funny. Why are Jedi? There were scientific Jedi at the time. Their whole purpose was to do whatever. The other thing I hate about this episode, too, if you think about it, is Jedi, the last thing they would do is pull out their lightsabers.
Yeah. But here they do it so fast.
They are trained diplomats first. That's why the Sith
like,
are
let's
better.
go fight them.
Well, okay. Hypothetically, if they said someone tried to attack them, they have all the rights in the world to defend themselves.
Yeah, agreed.
Like, Soul did nothing wrong by stabbing. Okay, so here's what we've established, right? Besides plot convenience, right? They take into account bad writing. They've been exploring parts of this planet. They got to this. They start sensing something. They're just not doing a full scan of the planet. They don't realize the mining facility is active. Hello, Ms.sparkles. So they kept themselves hidden, right? Fine. The little girls sneak out. May is going to kill the butterfly because she shows she's kind of evil. And they do explain what the girls are, besides the virgins. Soul just happened to do whatever. Coral can sense, is Force sensitive. She sensed the Jedi nearby. She sensed Soul was nearby. Twice. Now, maybe the mother did too. Because they explain more why the Padawan fell to his knees in the first. Basically, she mind submitted him, and this is not how Jedi act. They would investigate a Force cult because they would not let unauthorized Force users just exist. And they know Force witches are lean towards the dark side.
Yeah.
There was an article that came out very early on. It was about a bunch of lesbian Force witches or gay. Like the idea, and we immediately said they're going to introduce the Night Sisters. Because there's nothing about what the sisters show that's light side of the Force. Taking control of someone's mind is a dark side ability. Like making the guy submit, right? That's a dark side ability. That's not something you're going to see upon a light side of the Force. They had all rights to cut down the witches immediately when they seized one of them. They should have known that was a dark side of the Force ability when she immediately went to Torben and mind controlled Torben. Does that not make sense?
It doesn't, because it's the Acolyte.
Because here's the thing. Like let's say it's something like, let's go into like the Clone Wars. If any Jedi had their Padawan attacked, they have the right to attack people. Anakin would never have tolerated even Ahsoka being attacked.
Yeah, you're right. It would have just cut off someone's limbs.
Like, the thing is, they would have asked questions. But that would have been the first for them to say that is actually a dark side user. Because her first thing is to force the Jedi to leave. Now, there's another problem that she was going to be this whole thing that the Reverend Mother or whatever, she is she was going to let Osha go, but Maul's the female Maul was like, we're going to fight. And I'll let everyone die. Now, the events that get filled in, right, is why did May just burn down the temple, the building?
Because the plot wants her to do. She doesn't have any personality.
Well, she has no personality, but in reality, they should have said in a couple of minutes where the other is. They should have just said, Coral said to stop your sister from leaving.
Yeah.
But I guess stopping your sister from leaving, like they fill in.
So I guess I will take up some space here. I will just like mention every issues I got. So the plot convenience.
You start with yours. I feel bad. I'll just fill in the other the parts.
Number 2 would be acting was bad. Mai and Osha don't really feel like different characters because acting sucks. Number 3, characters were bad, so I didn't care about the mother's death. Number 4, the mother said she'd let Osha go, yet she does weird magic instead of telling, and she waited to die to explain she accepted the Jedi to take Osha. It doesn't make sense. Number 5, instead of moving both kids toward him with force push, it was keeping the platform still, and he needed to grab the girl's arms. Weird. Like, I nitpick too much, but this feels really stupid. Number 6, characters are forgettable, not needed, and replaceable since no unique traits are the reason they act or they are in scenes. They are simply several bodies to move the plot around. Therefore, they don't really feel like characters making choice. They just feel like, oh, that's my moving part of my story. Number 7, pacing was bad. Runtime could be cut in half. I really feel like, in a nutshell, like you spend like 2-3 minutes. You tell, oh, that's the mission of the Jedi. You spend another like 1 or 2 minutes. Oh, let's make the group bump into the girls, and then the reaction to the girls, and then the reaction of the cult. And I don't feel like 14 minutes was really justified, because I feel like a lot of it was like rehash of what we already have seen in any other episode in the past. So that makes this episode like really bad. Hi, Sparkle.
It's basically, as I said, it's basically rehashing episode. Ms.sparkles, I watched it as well. That's pretty funny.
We've been watching it together.
So
it's one of his favorites. He's been actually watching it so much that he's starting to defend like parts of it and saying that it's not this bad. So I feel kind of bad having him rewatch it with me, because it's starting to wear him down.
No, my whole stance is it shouldn't be as bad as it is, because it actually has, compared to other Disney Star Wars works, it has the moments, like it's like a broken clock, right? It literally has like stuff that's lore.
We can start fires in space. Let's go. Let's go. Have you seen the new Aliens movie trailer? Have you guys seen that yet?
Not yet. I stay away from trailers.
It looks like it might be good.
when I see a trailer, it's because I'm in the theater and I'm forced upon seeing trailers because I don't like to be spoiled. But I will tell you this: I will watch it the day it comes out because I plan on covering it on the new podcast I will start next week. Anyway, to get back on
they're
track,
going to use the least CGI. Well, they're going to use not. They're going to use the least amount of CGI that they have to, and they're actually doing a what do you call it? They're making the aliens. They're going to use what is it called? Where they make like puppeteering type thing. They're gonna actually do all that. I think it might end up being good.
No, but he'll watch Romulus. The thing about Romulus is it's going to be good. But we'll talk. I'm going to see that too because it is.
You are too.
Oh, so I'll invite you at that stream as well since you will have seen it. But anyway, to get back on track, Ms.sparkles, you are the target audience, so I am blessed.
I'm not a lesbian. How am I a target?
Well, you're a woman. And Star Wars must be woman, so like they want women to enjoy Star Wars.
Not my kind of woman. They hate me. They hate my kind of woman. You don't even know. I got attacked by feminists like a whole day one time. I was getting attacked by woke. No, they weren't all white. Woke people, trans people, and women for a whole day, along with right-wing men. It was very interesting. I got called a misogynist, evil whore, and then by the woke ladies, and then on the other side, I got called a hate men, sexist whore. On the other side, yeah. So it was fun. It was a good day.
Shit show. What? And
it's because I thought of abortion. They both
based on my experience with you, they're wrong. You got 3 sons. You're there on streams, and when you tease us, it's not out of disrespect. It's out of like friendship, and like you're genuinely there to enjoy your time and make it fun for everyone. So I don't know. These people are smoking.
I'm not mean to you.
I'm mean.
I can be pretty mean.
I'm very mean. I'm always mean. That doesn't mean I genuinely like want to tear apart someone, but I can be very mean as well. I think everyone has that mean side. But anyway, you're a woman, and the Force is female.
Are you sure? I might not be a woman. I might be passable. But yeah, I thought it was dumb. I think it's dumb. I hate it. I hate everything. I don't understand how it's supposed to be really gay, but all I've been mainly seeing is half naked men. I do like seeing the one guy the Sith guy. I don't know what his actor. What's the name of that actor, Dragon Man? That they called. They said he was the guy in the Flash. The Space Ice or whatever. They said it was the Flash guy, but it's not. What's the guy? His name that wears the mask. Him, he's hot, but his mask reminds me of the alien's face from Aliens. That's the one I was talking about, Aliens. And I didn't like how a lot of scenes remind me of other movies. They give me deja vu from other movies, like the part where she's underneath the tree and the blob jellyfish bug goes to her hand. They do that in Avatar. Do you remember an Avatar where they're like?
I wanted to forget I've seen that movie twice. That's awful. So
Avatar.
The backstory, I've seen it once when it came out because that was a big event, and I've seen it again for the podcast like last year, I believe, when the second one came out. So I had regrets about doing that. That movie franchise is shite.
It is. I don't know why I liked it so much the first time I watched it. Why? When I rewatched it like a year ago, I rewatched Avatar. I was like, "This is the worst." Why did I like it the first time? Years when it came out.
Well, with all of the bad alien movies, I think there's worse out there. But to get back on track, so
the thing, what a lot of people don't get right about Ms.sparkles is like. I asked her if she wanted to watch it because she is like the target audience. Like she's the person who examples.
I'm not crazy. Even you say she's
like the person that
Dragon Man's not a good.
she's
his
like
opinion.
the person because they're going for a mass market. Like they want women in the fandom, and they're saying, well, how do we get women?
Yeah, I used to love Star Wars.
So like it's not
I even read books.
Everyone did, but it's like, but apparently this, like, even she noticed it's not even the plot convenience. That's a real easy thing. Because what happened in this episode is, instead of saying, oh, I gotta do episode 3, just make it like a 40-minute episode and cut the
Splice those 2 episodes. You're talking about those 2 one where it's from the Jedi side and from the witch's side. Just put it together. Just combine it into one episode. Is that what you're talking about? From the point of view of the Jedi.
I gotta admit something. We talk about target audience for quite some time now. Prior Caitlin Kennedy arrival and the Disney crap, before the takeover, like 2010, 2009, before we, like, right after the prequel came out, I remember the prequel buzzing, you know, like, I've known many people in my age gap that had seen the prequels, and it's funny how women did like this movie franchise. Girls my age enjoyed it actually more than I did, and that was prior the Caitlin Kennedy days.
I like Jar Jar books.
I
had a thing for Jar Jar Binks.
It's funny because I've known more girls into Star Wars than boys. At least in my place where I am in the world. That may be different in the USA, but here, most moviegoers are women. The guys are gamers. That's what we are here in Canada, at least in Quebec. And when I hear the Force is female and that kind of shit, that makes me laugh so hard. Because I feel like before Kennedy was there, it was still like, even if it's a boys IP, as guys call it, girls could still love it. They were still into it.
My mom went and saw it at the theater with her mom. Star Wars, the original Star Wars.
And did she like it?
But she said that at the theater, yeah, she loved it. But and my grandma loved it too. But she said when she went to the theater with the original Star Wars, she said there was only men. They were like the only women. Well, she was a girl, but a girl and woman in there. They were the only 2 women in there.
So she So here's the thing, right, about this with Star Wars. Like this. So she said she was a fan of like Heir to the Empire. And it's not like Lindsay Headland. She was familiar with some of the DCEU.
I don't know, DLORD, but since you did mark a pause there, I will go on and say, I think when you really want a target audience you already had, you're doing a mistake, because now you just end up pandering to people that didn't really need pandering. And I will go further and say,
kind of like My Little Ponies when they screwed up, when they would start pandering to the men. Doing weird little like Easter eggs during the brony phase, like that, kind of like that. Is that what you mean? Because that's when it started to go downhill. Was when they started pandering to the bronies.
Yeah, and I will add this. Like, again, I think as an IP, it's meant for boys, and it was for boys because that's action, that's fantasy, that's sci-fi, that's originally more boys friendly than girls, but. Again, it doesn't mean women wouldn't be into it. They are just less driven toward that. And let's be honest. Girls, you like horror, you like romance, you like comedies. This is what you want to see, I think. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm crazy, but that's my experience. True crime stuff
romantic
also
comedy,
works. Huh?
Yeah. You mean like romantic comedies and stuff?
Yeah, that's the kind of
I used
stuff
to be into
girls
that.
usually like. Um, it's usually that. It's not really the action or sci-fi genre women are driven toward into, but that doesn't mean they cannot like it. That doesn't mean there's no audience already there. It's just not the aimed audience, and it's just funny how they pander so much to women when they already had women prior, and they didn't need to do these gymnastic and that BS there.
No, you're forgetting that. I think, and this is what gets a lot of people like Stupendous Wave, Generation Tech, Gretzley, and a lot of others who have been like Star Wars Theory even pointed this out in the whole thing. You've always had women in the fandom. The thing is, and this has been brought up with Arch before, and he kind of touches upon it, but the same way, like, it's an issue of, it turns out that, see, I've said it, it's like WotC and D&D, because the current guy who's been over D&D for a while got fired. Guess because D&D, he finally realized it's bad. He's been driving it into the ground. But Wizards has more of a say-so to over its fandom than someone like Kathleen Kennedy, right? They know that Lindsay Headland and other people know Raylos drove the sequels, even though it was a giant fetish. Yeah, let's see. So, yes.
Yeah.
This is the idea.
You know, well, I could hear a storyline. You know what would be nice is if the witches like did act like the Amazon women, and they went and they only would kidnap Jedi men so they could breed them. And I could have made a better story. That would have been so much more entertaining.
No, I'll guarantee you. I actually thought like when
they sneaked in on the
I
temple.
thought when she was going to like she was trying to mind grape him was
that was such a pointless thing.
I actually thought that was out of, she was trying to do it so one of the women could have sex with him like an Amazon so they can have kids.
Strong Jedi kids.
But, well, how would you that'd be the way you could actually do it. Like,
True. It is an overrated fan fiction. True.
Usually, so I will tell you this, DarthMando. Usually, I don't like to support anti-SJW narrative, and I don't want to like preach at their audience. I will be blunt and honest. I actually ate that corner of the internet, and I ate as much the other corner. That's the total reverse that will just like stuff they ate. I just think both extremes are nasty. But here I gotta admit, like a lot of the bullet point they have in their narrative actually and it's coming from me that has been defending the show since it started, but last week broke me, and this week I give up. I give up. I'm no longer defending this shit. These
he got
people
kidnapped by moths. this Lord guy got kidnapped by moths. Sorry, he got taken away by the moths. And then she told the robot she loved him. She took the robot on his back. Sorry.
These people I ate, I actually agree with them now that I have seen like 2 episodes in a row that really broke me and really pushed my patience to like new levels. And I've seen lots of really bad shows. Is it the worst thing? I still don't think it's the worst thing out there, but it's not good. Like, now I went through my 7 issues with this episode, and there's like 3 things that were really enjoyable this week for me. Soul was entertaining, the action was enjoyable, the big fight with the 3 Jedi was fun. So you see, these 3 things are the more men aimed stuff. I think maybe I'm wrong, but correct me if I am wrong, actually, Ms. Sparkle, because you're there, you're a woman. When you watch a movie or a TV show, are you watching it for the action or you are watching it for the characters and the story?
Depends on the movie.
I
If
will
it's
tell
like
you this.
I hated Fast and the Furious, but if I were to watch Fast and the Furious, it'd be for the action. I wouldn't, I wouldn't care because Vin Diesel gets to say stupid lines. You know,
Okay, first
I'd watch
you
that
have
for
to-
just action.
I will
First,
reframe my question then. You are in front of Star Wars. So Miss Sparkle, you are in front of Star Wars. And you need to choose really one of these two. The action or the characters. You cannot say I need both. You need to
With
choose.
Star Wars?
Yeah. You choose good characters or good action. What do you choose?
Like, what do you mean, good actors or good action?
No,
You gotta have to. You gotta be good acting.
Either
You gotta be good at acting and action.
No. Either you choose good
Okay.
characters and story, or you choose good action. What do you choose between these two? And you can only choose one. Either the action or the good characters. What do you choose, Sparkle?
Okay, so when I think about when I watched the prequels,
Star Wars. Any Star
all I
Wars.
remember with the prequels, with the Star Wars, is the action part. My favorite was when Liam Neeson's character was fighting Darth Maul.
Yeah.
Right? And Obi-Wan Kenobi. All I remember is the fighting scene. That was so awesome when they were fighting. Remember when they were fighting each other? That's all I can really remember. I don't remember the storyline really. But that's just me. I have bad memory. So I like the action. I like the fighting with lightsabers.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so you can. I like your response, but I thought you would respond otherwise. But that's still impressive.
Yeah, because you're sexist. Because you're sexist. You thought I was gonna pick the storyline because I'm a female.
I thought you picked the story and characters, to be honest.
Okay.
I know you girls like your dramas. Okay, you like it.
Sexist.
Okay.
You like no. I say
But
this.
I'm not like other girls. Like I'm not. Okay, this sounds so corny. I'm not like other girls. My mom was different. So the stuff. That's why when you were talking, I just let you talk. But see, my mom loved Rambo. Was one of her favorite movies. Rocky was one of my mom's favorite movies. Aliens was one of my mom's favorite movies. She didn't watch like lady movies. She didn't watch that really at all. She hated like Shakespeare in Love. I remember walking by her room and she was watching it. She looks at me. She goes, "This is the worst thing I've ever seen." It's like she didn't like any of that. Wasn't my mom. She wasn't really. It had to be a really good romantic movie for mom to like a romantic movie. So I think that I'm not a good. I'm not good for you to ask. You need to get a more lady, like lady one.
You admit to what I say in a way where women tend to be driven toward characters and story. Do you?
Okay.
So
they also before you go on, let me finish saying on this episode. Like, let me first address like the Darth Mando stuff. Like, I've seen Stupendous Wave and other people talk about this. They did not know. Like, we knew it was about a coven of night witches. That's what the basis of the story was. We knew that what they were going to use. So we're like, oh, you're going to use the Night Sisters. All right. Dave Filoni and others have expanded on the lore of the Night Sisters. Jedi Survivor dealt with the Night Sisters. And
I remember the Night Sisters from the cartoon. What was the cartoon? I watched the cartoon.
Wars, but they come from
the Clone Wars
universe. They are Force alchemy. They are Force. Some of them are Force sensitive, but most of them use Force alchemy. So the concept,
why was she white though? I thought their species was red. Why was spiky head chick white? Or some of them white? I thought they were all red.
Some of them are yellow.
She was supposed to be yellow?
Some of them could be yellowish. Yes, there's other species of them.
To go back on
they were introducing the Ewok movie.
to go back on what I was trying to expand on, as a guy, I will tell you this, and that may sound shallow, but when I watch Star Wars, I watch it for the action.
And the bouncing
course,
boobs.
if I watch like a drama or something else, then it's a very different context. And even action movies, I like a balance of both, but I still watch movies for their action, right? And
I don't think Dragon Man does that though. I think he watches it for the story because of how much he memorizes with stories of
yeah,
all his
but
stuff.
the
So
lore
I
is
think
still
that
very
maybe you're
important.
putting men into a box that they only care about action.
But I wasn't really done with my point. And
Okay, I'm sorry, finish.
the other thing is, because we were really focused on the action and the characters, because this is what I know about. I have no clue about the extended lore of Star Wars. That's why I barely talk about lore here, and I let DLORD expand on that because he's the Star Wars guy on the panel, you know. But I will say, as someone, usually I know lore in some things like Halo, but even when I watch Halo, I look at the lore a bit. But when I watch Halo, for example, I watch it for the action. I don't mind if characters are not that great. But now that it's been clear, the Acolyte is a weird case where the characters all suck, the stories suck, and based on what DLORD has told us, and even Gray in last week's episode, the lore suck. So you cannot watch the Acolyte for the lore. You cannot watch the Acolyte
Well,
for
it's not
the
part of the lore. It's not canon either.
story.
It says it's not. That's it.
You cannot watch it for the story or characters. So what's left? The action? Is it all they have to offer left? And my leading question here is, you know how a lot of women are, and this is why they are more driven toward comedies and horror or true crimes or because really true crimes, the focus is really how can someone do this, how can that person think the way they do. It's not necessarily the crime itself, it's really the thought process of someone doing the crime that intrigues women. And I might be wrong here. But you're like,
Yeah.
how can I spot on the serial murderers so I don't get trapped by them, you know? But to go back on track, you make
You're so sexist. I've never noticed how sexist you are until just now.
Multi, let me explain it. I think,
you did the Acolyte. Okay, no. I need to keep going. Okay, you did the Acolyte TV show. You want women to be invested and into it, but you cannot freaking make good character or story.
Okay, Multi, listen. Here's the thing. I think this is something we've discussed in the arts community for a while, like in other communities and things. It wasn't that women.
Oh God, why is arts being brought up?
Women were never part. Women were always part of various fandoms in the various communities. Even in the Magic community, when they would pick up the game themselves, D&D, WoW, Destiny community has women in the thing. They know. I think they went into this show thinking that there was an untapped audience. Basically, I think of it as instead. Okay, if you make a franchise or hobby too niche, you risk it stifling out. Let's take like the Magic community as an example.
Yeah, they know nothing about Star Wars.
They have never. Wizards did not try to mass market or market to a younger audience. So the average player of Magic or some games, including Yu-Gi-Oh, is 25 to 30 years old. Star Wars, after Disney made the franchise go kaput, are either Raylos.
Anakin did blow up the Death Star. I thought Anakin did blow up the Death Star.
So let me.
Didn't Anakin blow it up? I didn't know.
No,
Sorry, y'all leave it.
That came from an article. So you have the people who came in at the sequels, then they saw, or the ones that came in with the Disney Star Wars that picked the fan stuff up later. Now you're only as good as your last Star Wars. They try to use the lore like the Night Sisters. I mean, I respect Lindsay Headland for attempting to understand the base. She at least read Heir to the Empire trilogy and other trilogies. Which
I will ask something. I will ask something in private chat right now. So go look at it, guys.
What? You want to I like Darth Mando.
Okay. I will send the link then.
So let me say, and this is the problem with this series. They touch on interesting abilities.
Sorry to cut you off, DLORD, but Ms.sparkles, since you know Darth Mando, do you know a way I can provide him the link without going through the chat necessarily?
Okay, yeah, let me see. Let me message him on it.
So send him the link. I will send you the link again so it's fresh on your Discord.
So the idea of the Force abilities that the witches use, because it explains how Indara, when she severed the link, I've seen like 4 different things going over this. It explains why they all died. Either she caused a Force backlash that killed the commune. As soon as you know they can take control of a Jedi. Because the scene where the mother, right? Whoever wrote that scene, she goes, I was going to let you have Osha. How I would have done that is, that's what I said earlier. Jedi would talk first. These people do not know how the Jedi would function. Now, they would immediately sense danger. Now, as soon as they know one of them turned hostile. Hello. So, as soon as they turned hostile, like, everyone's like, well, they killed the evil mother. But the problem is itself, he had just seen his other person attack. And she just turned the dark side mist.
Hello.
So he had all rights in the world to cut her down. The moment, and no matter the era, if a Jedi was attacked, they would have known to defend themselves. Because this episode established something that I thought was missing from the first episode 3. They knew. They called them Night Sisters. They called them Force Witches. They know about Force Witches, so they should know about the damn Sith. Force Witches.
Okay, let Darth say something, Dragon Man, please. Say something as you joined, because he wanted to say his opinion on it.
So, if you want, there's so many things on the show we can talk about. So it's like, what is there? Because I can talk on the knockoff Night Sisters, about Leslie, what her name is. I don't think she read anything. I think she knows mostly based off the current stuff, like the Disney era that most people aren't a huge fan of. Honestly, I'm not an anti-Disney fan as some people are. Like, they say anything Disney's bad. I don't agree with that. I think The Mandalorian was wonderful except for one episode.
He likes Baby Yoda. Ugh, Baby Yoda.
You see, this is another thing aimed for girls, okay? This is something cute. So girls are like, I will buy the merchandise. I will buy this Baby Yoda.
I have a life-size.
You like Baby Yoda. I hate Baby Yoda.
But
that's for you, girls. You know I'm right on that. Okay.
No, Baby Yoda. I hate Baby Yoda, but he loves Baby Yoda. Torment me with Baby Yoda.
Yeah, somebody has to start something. When you view this series, you remember the marketing of the series. You knew they said they were going to use the darks. You knew they were going to use the Night Sisters. So we go, okay, so we know even Jedi Survivor game, they handle the Night Sisters correctly. Because that is mostly a Clone Wars expansion in the Disney verse that they went over with the Night Sisters. Like the idea, even Force witches are known to the Jedi, even in the High Republic era. Would you agree, Mandalore? They knew of them.
Oh yes. No, I knew that they know, and there's many Force cults that aren't necessarily Force or view it as the Force. There's Sith cultists with different views of the Sith and who aren't necessarily who see the dark side certain things. Night Sister magic isn't even dark side magic.
It's supposed to be Force alchemy, from what I was told. I've learned.
Even though it's uncanon now, the best thing I would recommend to read is the Book of the Sith, because there's a section about the Night Sisters have their own magic. It's similar to the dark side, but it's different. It's their own thing. But from the marketing, I didn't know those were Night Sisters. I thought it was a cult, and I didn't know what to think. Because I remember I had high hopes for the show, and it was first mentioned when there was first talks of the Acolyte. Do you remember what the show was rumored to be about?
I don't, because I'm not really into it, but DLORD, do you remember this?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
No, what was it supposed to be about? Okay, I think the cult, it would have been better to be in a cult, though. Instead of the
I'll tell you the first thing, and I run this by Darth. Darth, when you hear the term Acolyte, what do you think? You think of a Force user that is similar to like a Jedi Sentinel that guards a temple. They're low level. They're not good enough for anything, because if you go back to the old Republic lore, the Sith had acolytes. Even Palpatine in the lore, in the modern lore, had the acolyte style with the Inquisitors and other people.
Oh, the Sith before Bane ruined them. I hate the rule too. I liked it when there was a real threat. Old Republic is the best era. But yeah, they had the same sort of levels of Sith that Jedi had, like where they had different ranks, different departments, different categories, different roles. The Sith were like that.
So yeah, I thought that's what the color of the lightsabers represented was what because that's what Giant and I were talking about was the colors of the lightsabers supposed to represent something.
There's debates.
There's never been set in stone. It was sort of more, it wasn't a rule, but it was more what your role was, especially Old Republic era. It was a little bit more what your role was what your lightsaber was.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say, because I played the Old Republic. I played that game and I thought the colors represented. Yeah.
See, even when I told her, basically, like, usually up until like the guy who became the Grand Inquisitor, he basically was the head of the temple. A lot of the temple guards, like, he was the head. He had a yellow saber. Yeah, he had a yellow saber.
It was all the temple guards had the exact same lightsaber. That wasn't even a crafted one. That was a mandatory.
The idea of the concept of the various, right? The ideas of the colors evolved over time.
Yes.
But when it came to the idea,
wait. Why was there a purple lightsaber? Him and I got in a little argument over the purple lightsaber. Why was there a purple one?
To my knowledge,
because that's
Darth knows. He knows.
That's
what I said.
But then they tried to justify it by saying, "Oh, it's because he uses the dark side as well as the light side."
Yeah,
or
no,
it was Samuel Jackson wanted a purple lightsaber. That was what I remember. Isn't that right?
It was him who wanted it, and then they incorporated it into lore that it's more for someone who walks the line, who has a sort of a concept of both.
Vape had.
Yeah, like it's nothing's ever been set in stone for colors. It's been mostly choice. What they automatic that they're naturally their own color. They resonate different colors. There's been so many different things. But there's never been anything set in stone. The only thing set in stone with roles and colors is all the Jedi guards had yellow. They had the same saber. Other than that, because Anakin in the Clone Wars even changed Ahsoka's from her green and yellow to blue to match his.
And the big thing, the reason why Sith have red lightsabers is because they have to bleed. Nope. There's two forms.
Oh, yeah, there's the artificial, and then there's the bleeding, and then
you have to, because the idea, ignore the fact that Ice Killer Base, or whatever, the big giant planet, was the planet that the Jedi got the Kyber crystals from in the lore. That Sith believe, because Kyber crystals are like living entities, their sabers turn.
I also thought it would you had to be special to have like a two. When Darth Maul did the whole lightsaber, when both the blades came out.
Two crystals.
Yeah, I thought it was something special. I thought he had to like. I thought only certain people could. That's what I was confused on.
You train in, like, it's harder. It's just like there was also people who double wield lightsabers who aren't even just. It's all just form.
No.
Then they came out. They just all of a sudden had two lightsabers in the Acolyte.
Okay.
I just thought it was kind of weird.
Here's the thing. In the
weird.
old lore, until it changed, the reason why there was not a double-sided lightsaber for a long time was because they feared, Jedi had a massive fear of Exar Kun.
Yes.
That is one of the main lore reasons that was established a long time. Because Exar Kun nearly wiped out the Order and did a lot of damage to the Order.
Yes.
And they feared, basically they said, because it's a combat style, they also said, and Maul was very fit. Like, Maul, if he was not an inept person, could take out a master. His potential was really strong. But it's a style. So the idea that you would see some, like the only other one you see that's a Jedi that has like double-sided is I might butcher her name. The one from Old Republic that had the battle chant.
Actually, both of the Bastille and her ancestor Satele, I think they both had dual.
So the idea of wielding two is not unheard of. Even in the Clone Wars, is it Luma? Who's the one in Clone Wars that was on the jungle planet? Shaak Ti's apprentice.
Luminara? No.
Luminara.
But no, that's not even the one who had. She didn't have one.
She was a master, led clone troops. She was a double wielder. She's in. You know who I'm talking about? She's a playable character in even.
Maris Brood.
Huh?
Maris Brood.
No, the Clone Wars commander. She's a Twi'lek. She was a Twi'lek.
The only Twi'lek I know is Ahsoka, but even there, I'm sure she is not, and I just think she has tentacles, so therefore she
was Shaak Ti's apprentice.
He would.
She's in Star Wars. She was killed in the other. She actually wielded as well.
Okay. The thing that bothered me was the monologuing by the. What is his name? You didn't tell me his name. What is the name of the guy who's supposed to be like the Sith guy? He was monologuing all like. And I just remember the Sith being more quiet. Like they were like not sitting there monologuing the whole time while they were. And then he would leave people alive. He wouldn't just like kill them. Like why didn't he kill the dude with the tall dude?
That's another lore break.
Okay.
No, it's because the Sith, after the rule of two, it was all secrecy. You wouldn't just announce I'm a Sith or I'm a Darksider. You would, and if you did, and if you found out, if someone found out, you killed them. So the stranger admitting he's like a Sith. He never said I'm a Sith. He's like, you'd call me a Sith.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but and then the guy that they said that you would call me Sith, that guy, he just kept leaving people, like when he was fighting everybody, that one dude, the guy hit the leg and then all of a sudden he's walking, okay?
Plot armor.
Do you remember the one that got down and he got him down, he was walking, okay, he could have killed him. Why didn't he kill him? I don't remember the Sith just being like, oh, I'm gonna walk away now. I thought that they were evil. Why?
I can tell you why. Bad writing.
Why?
Okay.
Shush your face.
Actually,
I know. It just made me so bad. He kept walking away. And from like once he'd get him down and walk away, and then the boss would take away with this little like a light in the back.
I've heard Shad try to explain his bad swordsmanship, why he would let himself.
It's fantasy. Don't bring him up, please. Okay. No, it's DLORD.
You saying about fantasy, don't bring it up. That's one thing that has bothered me since the first episode with that little bonfire in space.
Yeah, I admit.
Fire in space can happen, you know?
I still had that issue, I admit.
Well, no.
After last week's stream, I looked back at my notes and I actually remember having the same issue. So, you know what?
And castles get set on fire. They just go. Rock burns.
But here's the thing. Well, here's the thing. That the rest of the show's been so bad that people forgot about the fire. But
yeah,
and just a small very thing, just I don't know what's been said, is fire in space, like a constantly burning fire, would be more like a torch, as the oxygen is pumped out of the spaceship, fueling the fire.
Even the Clone Wars, when they had the space battles, you only saw like embers that were inside force fields because the space battle when explosions happen.
And explosions happen, but they disappear right away.
Yeah.
Now there is now here's what I would have done with May. This is if I want to give them entire credit. She had the rare force ability to manipulate and control fire. That is an actual ability. That is a very rare ability, but you can create fire.
So, okay, DLORD, I like what you're doing, but I will pause on you because obviously we got Mandalore, and for like 10 minutes, I've been thinking about stuff I wanted to ask you because you're now there.
Just let me continue one thing before I forget because I have a horrible memory.
Okay.
The whole thing, and people, like, after the first episode, everyone was complaining about everything. The only thing that people would, the defenders of the show would go, you're just upset about a bonfire. It's not just a bonfire, it was everything. But the point is, plausible deniability and, yes, it's sci-fi. Yes, it's fantasy. But what gets you connected and into it is real science and real things. And then when you take that away, the small things, it's hard to get into it. And it's like you don't think about it. Like in movies, it's fake. Obviously, like people get shot and survive. But it's within reality, it's just a very rare, very stupid thing. But in all science fiction, the best ones, even Star Trek, they have some reality based in their fake science.
Yeah.
And it's what pulls you in. It's what
at least a good storyline. I think that doesn't help.
Well, exactly. It's what
storyline.
Like in Star, I don't remember much Star Trek. I watched Next Generation was the most part, and I didn't even watch it very much when there was nothing else.
Oh, I love Next Generation. I loved it.
DLORD, you're on freeze mode right now, DLORD. I'm sorry, but I want the focus to be on DarthMandalore right now. You will get to talk after. Okay, so
do I need to put my Mandalorian helmet on? I'll put it on.
No, that's fine. Do it if you want, but the first thing I will ask you.
Those look really cool. Yeah, I like that. Those are nice.
Did you were you hype about this show coming into it? Did you thought that would be a
Those
good
are cool.
show? As obviously a fan of it, because
Okay.
you have more, you have a shirt,
It does it.
like on your face. It's like Star Wars fan.
Yeah, you should see his Twitter timeline. he drives me crazy with his Star Wars stuff on his Twitter timeline. He's sweet though.
Like I don't think I've seen a bigger fan than you. Like,
okay,
you should see his timeline.
So how much hype did you add coming into it?
Well, depends on what point. If you're talking about the hype based on the first trailer, or when it was first announced, because when it was first.
When you actually got to see it, like after the trailer, and when you started watching it, were you excited for the rest of the show, or you're like,
no,
episode 1, I dropped out already?
As I mentioned before, when the show, the Acolyte, was first mentioned back a few years ago, when they mentioned all the shows that were going to be coming out, Kenobi, Mando season 2, I think was still at the time, or season 3,
Skeleton Crew.
The Acolyte was presented as a show showing the Star Wars story from the side of the Sith, and it was more speculation and rumors, but everyone sort of said, or was speculating, that it was possibly going to be about young Maul, or just
that'd be cool. I would have enjoyed that so much more, man. I would love that, because Darth Maul was one of my favorites. Like,
even just doing a Star Wars show from an unknown Sith from an unknown time.
That would be awesome too.
The concept of the show, when it was first announced, when there was first like barely any info on it, I had so much hype for it, because I love this. One of my favorite characters is Darth Malgus. But as soon as I saw, the more I heard, the more pictures I saw, when I started seeing the cast, it started going downhill, because it was made very obvious that this was not made for Star Wars fans. The more you learned about it, it was more made. It was another one of those. I don't even see the sequel trilogy even that, but it was made to be more for the woke ideology, like how every picture you saw, there was like no white guys. It was all females. It was all this and that, and in their own, they're fine. But it was just everything. All the stereotypes of woke TV was all being thrown at you.
Oh, and he likes the females, so he's not. You should see some of the things he posts to the females.
Well, no, but there are some. And before Disney took over, and even after Disney took over, I still think Rey was a great character. I think her story was. One thing they did horribly in the whole sequel trilogy was explaining things. Like, they had to go back after and explain things. That her training was more than just overnight, if you read the books and stuff. But Bo-Katan was amazing. Sabine is amazing. Ahsoka, Leia, Padme. Like, there's so many main female characters, and all the female Jedi. Like, there's so many of them that are just amazing. Like, and they say, oh, it's not been for women. There's always been someone female can look up to. Because I've seen pictures of like females in the original Star Wars at the original time who were dressed as pilots, because there was no gender to the pilots. Like, people were into the show. It didn't need to be made for women or for girls, because it was already there.
Yeah, like I said, my mom loved it and my grandma did. So, and that was the original. They went and saw it at the theater.
Yes.
I had a Barbie of Princess Leia.
And every episode has come out, has slapped, and there's this big debate about actual fans love anything Star Wars, which is true, but this is not Star Wars. Every episode seems to be spit and spitefully done to mock Star Wars fans, or they just had no idea what the hell they were talking about.
Okay.
Like, it's just, there's so many in my Kit Fisto. That whole thing makes no sense. Like, that's kind of like broke lore right there.
That's because so bad.
Well, he's the one who said, just haven't been, like, he would still know that there was a dark side person there. He would have been able to sense it. What their thoughts.
Yeah, I was wondering about that too. Like, could they sense it? That was
No,
weird. Yeah.
But no, but
And then,
Kit Fisto was the one in the Phantom Menace who said there hasn't been a Sith or Darksider sit in, and his birth date was confirmed. I think it was on a Topps trading card. And the thing with Topps, and people say, is I don't think Topps has ever been canon. Topps is actually canon because they are sports cards. They are cards that you get your stats from your cards sometimes.
yeah. Well, I have Marvel cards, so
Well, yeah.
I have
So,
Marvel cards. So.
I got a second question because there's a lot of emphasis on you because you're clearly like a big fan, and I think
He's a
it's
big
very
fan.
important. I think it's very important to have your opinion out there. So, are you like, and be honest on that because here on my channel, I think honesty primes, and that's the best thing. That's why I try to stay away from echo chamber and such. But be honest on that question and response. Are you into like NCSGW channels? Like, do you engage a lot with them, or you're just aware, or you used to be, or what's your experience with like the anti-SJW channel and such?
Like channels as in SJW, like YouTubers, or just
YouTuber like
discussions?
Critical Drinker, like Geeks and Gamers, and all of the people that will hate that thing because it's Disney.
Let me just
and
check.
Caitlin
There's
Kennedy.
only 2 real Star Wars streamers I am subscribed, or let me just looking 100% Star Wars, Stupendous Wave, and Star Wars Comics. I think I can't stand what's his name, Star Wars Theory.
Okay,
Like
I don't think he has any political like.
Oh, it's not.
I think what he's asking is like, are you woke? Are you on the woke side, or are you on the anti-woke type?
Are you
train?
from
what I know from
are
you,
you in between? I place myself.
I don't. From what I see, his timeline is he's in between. I don't really think he's.
Here's the thing.
I don't think he's anti-SJW or on SJW.
Pre-politics conversation. I'm probably a little bit more on the anti-woke. I don't care if you're trans. I don't care if you're gay. I don't care what you do. Keep it in your fucking bedroom. You don't need to spread to the world. You don't transition kids.
Yeah.
If you want to transition and you feel comfortable, that's fine. But no one's obligated to respect you or to acknowledge your new name or your new gender. Because guess what? You can meet assholes who just call you a different. Like I've met assholes who call me other names just to be insulting. Does that make it an assault?
Yeah.
No. Misgendering is not an assault. I have friends who are trans who understand my views. Like and I go by science. I go by logic. Like you can change your body however you want, whatever makes you happy, if it actually makes you happy. But don't force it on others, especially kids. And you have to acknowledge.
Do you think this new show has a woke agenda?
Yes.
Or anything like that?
They've admitted it when they said that the show is the gayest thing Star Wars has ever, the gayest Star Wars ever, and we're laughing about it. You can't deny that.
So I don't see it.
And based on what you just told us, you don't really engage with that corner of the internet that basically hates to hate stuff. So I think it's very fair to say that we can take you seriously when you say you don't enjoy it. Well, I assume you don't enjoy it because like that's the vibe I'm getting from what we talked so far. Do you enjoy the show so far?
Clear?
Do you like?
I've seen him defend Ray or whatever her name is.
We are 7 episodes in. How do you feel about this show so far?
I can't wait till it's done. It just is not canon.
Yeah, you're just gonna watch it because it's Star Wars, aren't you?
No,
so you're not even watching it.
I've watched bits and parts. I've watched the important parts, and if I do decide I'm probably going to watch it later, but I don't want to help Disney's numbers on it, so I'm probably going to watch it on a third-party site just to be a spiteful asshole, because I am that type of guy. But no, and I'm there's people who I align with more personally who don't agree with me on everything because they don't the Star Wars sequels are garbage, but they're watchable, they're enjoyable. They were done poorly. They are the weakest of the 3 trilogies. They rushed things. They didn't explain things. Some of it's copied from the first ones. It was Kylo Ren was such a whiny little bitch. The only time I find Kylo Ren sort of redeeming or enjoyable at all to watch was his couple minutes as Ben Solo again at the end, when he wasn't just pouting and shouting and having a tantrum, when he was just fighting with Rey.
Yeah. I think that they should have made them have sex and had a baby. She got knocked up, so that at the end of the movie, when she said, say she's a Skywalker, she could have said she was a Solo. They used to do that, and like that used to be a thing where a woman would, could take the last name because they'd be pregnant with.
Well,
I don't think that makes me.
No,
she could have said been pregnant with Solo. I think that would have been so much better than just saying Skywalker.
I can get into
you know what I mean?
I can get into bad fights over certain things that are talked about for the next movie from fans. How she should be pregnant by Force Ben, or Force Ben should get her pregnant and whatnot. And these are the same people who. But these are the same people who complain that Palpatine came back. And
I can't believe he came back. That was so bad. But if she wanted to just change her last name, change herself into a Skywalker makes no sense. I think if she would have got knocked up, but before he died, I don't understand how he died, it would have made more sense.
I think Skywalker makes sense. I do. I'm one of the few people who actually have no issue with it. She never really had her parents. She remembers them and she misses them, but she never really knew her parents. When she was actually found,
but what connection did she have Skywalker?
Luke.
Are you talking about Princess Leia?
Well, no. She learned on Luke. She got Luke Skywalker. Her Anakin's lightsaber. He was trained. Luke trained with her. That was more than just a day. That was like a few days. That's probably like a week or so. And Leia, the time between the end of the second and third, it was out of respect. Leia died actually to help save Rey. Because her die, she used the last to distract Ben to bring him back. So Rey could defend her.
I didn't know anybody else felt that about her getting pregnant. But okay, I'll be right back.
Okay. So I will ask you then. Where did you drop exactly on the Acolyte? We obviously know why, but where exactly? That's more the question now. Where did you drop?
In all honesty, the trailers. Actually,
you haven't seen it so far. Oh
no, I've seen parts and stuff. I haven't sat down to watch an episode in full because I don't hate myself that much right now. But what got me off was even the preview pictures, because I honestly Star Wars is also usually known for bringing in unknown or smaller actors. Like, there are the odd big actor, but even in the original trilogy, they weren't all known to everybody.
Yeah.
The one who played Obi-Wan was known in England, I think. Like, a bunch of these
I have no clue.
No, a bunch of these were not known. Mark Hamill was a nobody at the time. I think at the time, what's his name? Who played Han Solo? In my mind, what's his name?
Harrison Ford.
Harrison Ford. I think he had done bit parts on Carrie Fisher was known for being the daughter of a famous actress, and also I think she had bit parts. I think it was before even Star Wars. I don't remember. I haven't looked at the timeline. But it's been known to usually do smaller people, and the odd time have bigger people in it. Since the sequel trilogy, they've been bringing more people in, and in Mandalorian, they have all these celebrity guest stars. But it was usually small people.
Okay.
It made more sense to use, use when they did the Avengers.
Yes.
Robert Downey Jr. was like the only big name in there. In there, you had like Chris Evans. The only other thing he was known for was being the forgettable Human Torch.
No, he was more than that. He was also in another teen movie. Well, he was in a bunch of. You know what?
Yeah, I know. Most people, I only knew of him before when he was a bad Human Torch.
And I have to correct myself. A couple of the actors were known, especially in the prequel trilogy. Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon. They had both been in
Liam Neeson and Meg McGregor.
Yeah, they had both been in known movies, but they weren't. But the point is, majority of the actors are unknown. And then I started seeing what's her name from who was in Old Man Logan, who was in the show. And I couldn't stand. I really don't like her as an actress. Nothing against her. There's certain actors and actresses you just don't vibe with. And she was one of those, and it was like names that I've heard of and seen before, some of them, and it was just like, that's all right. Like, that's one thing that's bugged me. It's nicer to bring in smaller people because then they're not typecasted beforehand. It's not sort of as weird.
Okay. So now I gotta ask one last question before I give DLORD the floor, because I feel like there's a lot of things building up on DLORD. No, that's fine. No, I'm the one that wanted you to talk because you're obviously a fan that knows the lore, and I think that gives another perspective outside of DLORD, and I think it's a bit sad you didn't watch. So I'm like, it's still amazing to have your perspective. It's not as
I've seen the main parts. Any of the big. Like, I've watched enough clips like throughout the episode after it's been released and whatnot, and I read everything, not just the lore, or not just the reviews. I also read just people explaining what happened without saying this was shittily done, and putting their perspective into it.
Yeah.
But I've seen enough of just that to know, like, because from also what I've been told and whatnot is, there's so many small parts that are just meaningless, and like, how many times are they going to do this? Like, this whole last episode was almost
40 minutes,
and it was only about 10 minutes new info. Like, there wasn't even new info. It was just a rehash from a slightly different perspective of episode 3. It's just like.
Now I will ask you, as a huge Star Wars fan, I got 2 questions. The first one would be, do you think, if, for example, I suggest you, because I think that should be the way, if someone binge watch, that should be the way, speed 1.5, so it goes faster. Do you see yourself being able to go through like 6-ish hours, a bit less than 6, let's say 5 hours and a half of that? If it's like 1.5 speed, that cut it to maybe 4 hour-ish. Do you see yourself watching 4 hours of the Acolyte as a huge Star Wars fan and such?
In all honesty, it's not the speed; it's the whole story. And my whole thing has been accurate. My whole big thing, even since I was a little kid with getting toys from shows and movies, I always loved accuracy. I love, and as I've gotten older, it's branched out into lore, and there's just so many lore-breaking things, and it just doesn't make sense, and it's just. Like Andor, I was not a huge fan of. I didn't think Andor was going to be a good show at all. I was thinking it was going to be as bad as this show is. So I decided I'm not going to watch it. I'm not going to watch it new. I'm going to wait till every episode's out and just binge watch it. So you can watch it as one story rather than story here, story there, which can make things worse. And I might do that with the Acolyte, where I sit down and just watch it normal speed once it's done, just to get the full view.
Yeah.
But the speed wouldn't change anything. There's enough big issues I have with it, and just how everything seems to be copied from everything, and the reason I say the person didn't watch anything Star Wars before this is one thing that was talked about before the show, or even during episode 1, was that there was a whole new lightsaber she sort of invented for the show. And it was this huge thing that it was going to be the technicians who begged them all stuff, said they're not sure if it's possible. She begged them to make it work and whatnot. And what I'm guessing it was the Stranger's lightsaber with the little blade that comes out the bottom, which is just kind of a ripoff of Cal Kestis's, which is, instead of spreading up butt to butt and doing that, it was just like this and a smaller sword. It's not anything new. Like, and connecting lightsabers has been around for a long time. I mean, so even if you just want to go back recently. It was even though she barely used it except for the movie and the one or two episodes of that, was Asajj Ventress's dual lightsabers connected. She could wield it as a single weapon. So like everything that's been talked about in the show has just been hyped up, and it's just fallen flat.
Okay, so my final question to you before I pass the floor again to DLORD, and then I will ask the same question to Sparkle if she is still around. I didn't mute her because she was breathing on her mic or something. So Mandalore,
I wasn't breathing on my mic. I left the room. It's my fan.
Hey,
You try to make me sound like a fat oaf.
Okay.
I'm offended. Yeah, I was not breathing. I said I'll be right back. I should have. I thought I muted my mic. Wait, no, I did mute my mic. So how was I breathing?
No, he's
I did mute you.
I was muting you, like because
earlier.
you were breathing or something. Yeah.
It's my fan. Oh, it's my fan. Okay, hold on.
Anyway, so
and you know you're getting it. You know I'm getting revenge against you, Multi, for trying to make it sound like a fat oaf. I'm gonna turn off my fans, and then I'm gonna prove to you it's not me breathing hard.
You know, I'm sweating like hell because I did cut off my fan because I realized my fan was on the background. Anyway, so my question, Mandalore, you're a fan, like. How do you feel when they make a Star Wars thing and you're supposed to be the target audience? Do you feel like the target audience? How do you feel about that? And do you feel like you're the target audience?
In all honesty, I don't think Star Wars has never been, I don't think, a specific target audience. It will be mostly male due to just action and sci-fi usually are male dominated by the fans, and it's not that it's is necessarily intended to. It's just how it works. Like there are plenty of women, but majority is male. I've seen Star Wars is just something that's been marketed to pretty much all ages because there's the cool lights. There's cool things for all ages that get everyone attention, like the colors, the scenery, the action, the dialogue, the creatures. It's for all ages. Like I remember watching, I always heard about Star Wars, and I remember renting the trilogy from Blockbuster before the special edition. And I remember going to see and caught out of Star Wars for years. And when the Phantom Menace came out, that got me into it, and I started watching. I had like most of the figures. There was something for kids, and as an adult, I still love it. Not even just as a nostalgia thing, because I still enjoyed the sequel trilogy and Mando. Like, there's something in it for everyone. And I don't think that up until the Acolyte, there's been no target audience. I think the sequel trilogy tried to be more inclusive, and it just kind of bogged down the story a bit, but not much. Mandalore has except for that one episode with the female Jabba the Hutt, aka Lizzo. That part of the episode does
amazing. I would love it. Is it still sound like I'm breathing really hard? Is it?
No, that's perfect.
No, man, that was
the only thing. Why didn't you say it to me in the beginning, you jerk? Because now people are gonna think about fat ass. And I'm sitting here breathing all hard, you meanie.
But other than that,
and it was my fans.
Mando, I thought was for everyone. I thought the show was good. The only issue I had with season 3 was they dropped a lot of balls that could have been
balls.
made the story better. The one who rescued Grogu, making it what's his name who played Jar Jar Binks. I was not a fan of that.
What's the name of Jar Jar
ruined
Binks?
His real life. The actor though who played Jar Jar Binks in real life, that role ruined his life. People were horrible to him in real life.
No, but there's two parts to that. It was one, people were horrible to him. That like you should never, just because you don't like a character, you don't like a movie, don't threaten or harass.
Yeah, and look what happened to that child, the child actor, him. Look,
that was the child actor of Anakin from episode 1, I believe.
Yes, but he also was going around. I've heard stories about him going around saying he was in Star Wars, and he said, "Oh, Jar Jar Binks," so people started going after him.
Wow.
And I'm not saying it was right to harass him, but I didn't find him that. I found that little fight he had with dual wielding. Again, dual wielding there. The acting or I don't know if it was the acting or director. He felt so choppy and sluggish, and just looked. That scene I found horrendous. But I figured they could have done someone better, someone from the Clone Wars who survived. Like, I am someone who's a big fan and supporter of Windu Lives.
Yeah.
It's just he was strong in the Force. And I thought if he would have come, someone who we didn't see die on screen, or we don't know for sure, like what's her name? No, the one who's had the most deaths, Shakti. We never actually see her die on screen. She's only died in deleted scenes and in Force Unleashed.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I liked Force Unleashed. I played that. That's that game.
Oh
right?
yeah, no,
that game was good.
It was a wonderful game. I had both of them. Yeah, Force Unleashed. But that whole thing was she could have been the one who saved. But it could have been someone who was known, who hadn't seen their death, come in last minute and saved. Even someone from the cartoon, like one of the children who, from the couple episodes that went to get their kyber crystals.
Yeah.
With the Wookiee and the others. We saw the Wookiee and the Bad Batch return, but we don't know what happened to the others. We could have seen one of them run off with Grogu and whatnot. But they sort of dropped the ball in that. And that one episode which doesn't exist. Except for the bar scene and him fighting with droids, which was hilarious.
Well, how do you feel about, do you think Star Wars should just stop now? Do you think that's it, Star Wars over, or do you think they should keep trying?
I don't think
Fire
Star Wars...
Caitlin Kennedy. Then try something new.
I've heard what's Favreau...
Like, is the whole thing done? Is Star Wars
No,
dead?
I think they should start reincorporating EU, some things they can't now, or they might have to change. Because Mara Jade and the Skywalker and Solo Legacy, if you read Legacy and have Cade Skywalker and whatnot, those are great stories. You can't really do them anymore because there's no Mara Jade, and the Solo twins are gone. Like, they sort of screwed things up, but there's still more that can be done. There's still more that can be done between
There's a whole series on Luke Skywalker's wife. I forgot I read those books on Luke Skywalker's wife.
But there could be a whole...
Yeah.
But there's the whole timeline between Episode 6 and Episode 7 where the Mando universe takes place. And I think
I liked the Mandalorians too a lot. I liked them. They were one of my favorite.
The Mandoverse, which includes Ahsoka, Mando. What's the other one? I thought there was a third. I'm tired, but that whole thing,
Obi-Wan.
That's not really Mandoverse. But the point is, the movie coming out. But the Book of Boba Fett, that's the third show. And I love that show, and people hate that.
That was terrible, but you liked it.
No,
that's good.
No, I like it because I know Jango Fett from Legends.
Jango Fett, that's a freaking amazing name. Sorry.
No, but Jango Fett wanted that son. Like, if you play the Bounty Hunters game, just that alone shows he wasn't a bad. He wasn't necessarily a bad guy. If you read his comic. He was through a lot. He had a hard life, and he grew up rough, and he was just doing a job just to get by, just because he was running from his past, pretty much.
I just forgot what's that big fat guy's name, the one that had Princess Leia as a slave. What's that guy's name?
Jabba. Yeah.
So I got an idea, a whole new storyline, a whole new show. It's gonna be a female version of Jabba the Hutt. She's gonna be a slut. And they're gonna make her a non-slut by the end of the whole series.
Okay, I'm gonna send you a picture after. It's nothing.
It's okay. If it's
it's nothing.
I'm mad at you.
No, it's nothing nasty. But there are female Jabbas.
Find her own slave. She could get humans like he did. Yeah.
There's female Hutts.
Yeah, I know
Oh
that.
my! I don't want PTSD. That's okay.
No,
No,
but
I
there
don't
was
show
the,
multi.
but the twins, and in the
Anyway,
Clone Wars.
I gotta ask you, like, can you watch the entire thing this week or this weekend whenever you got time? So next Friday we can talk about the entire show, and you can be like actually be there and have seen the entire thing.
You know what?
So
Once the final episode airs, so Tuesday, I'm on disability, so I'm home all the time. So I can sit down one of those days. I might need to break it up depending on how bad it is just to sit there and watch.
We could watch it together if you add me on Discord. I'll watch it with you. I'm watching it with Dragon Man. I'll watch it with you. You want to do that? Because I can
We'll
make it fun.
I just will depend on my internet. I live in the country. My
Okay.
internet shit.
I
But
Okay.
I'll try and do it. I was thinking about doing it either way once the show was done and just sitting there and watching it.
Yeah. I'm asking that because I think this week, last week was also another great week because we had great, but this week felt special because we got you, and I say that because you're a big fan and you really added something to this current stream, and that'd be great if you get to see it before next Friday.
Yeah, I'll watch it. I'll do my best
and-
not.
It's nice to have somebody who knows what we're talking about because we just did I joined a stream with Multi and we were talking about neutrality, and
I might.
we didn't
well,
know what we're talking about.
I might need to take some CBD gummies just to make sure I'm calm. I'm not. No, because I can get very emotional on BPD, so I can get really irate about stupidest things, and lore breaking is one of them. But I'll sit down and I'll watch it, and then I'll come in next
can do it.
to the next show with.
Hell
Full
yeah!
knowledge.
Hell yeah!
Yeah.
So
Can he
I-
join
I-
the Discord thing? How do I do that? Can he join where you can see where you post your stream stuff
Send-
at? Multi?
I don't know if you can. Well, actually, send your what's your Discord ID so I can add you.
Here, let me open
Yeah,
Discord.
I don't know his
never-
Discord. I'm friends with him on Twitter. I mean, yeah, Twitter is it right?
And I follow you
Yes,
on
I don't know.
Facebook.
I guess
Oh, on Facebook.
Twitter.
Yeah.
On Twitter,
I'm sure-
do you have the same Twitter as your current nickname right now? So if
It's DarthMandalore 0.
Dark Mandalore.
Darth.
Darth. It's the Darth. It's the whole thing except for Zero.
See,
Yeah.
So
There wa-
since I'm doing this right now on stream, DLORD, take some bit of floor as we do this thing right now.
So I have to
Good-
ask him.
good job.
See, I can tell he's more of a serious fan because it's not the room aside in the cabinets. It's actually the. I have to admire the helmets. Are those the actual collector's helmets?
Those are the
You
black.
have-
Those are the
Are
black.
those the
series.
good ones?
They're the expensive mass produce.
The more mass-produced, but those were what the. Were they the black series or?
Yeah, the black series. I've also got a bunch of lightsabers.
No,
okay.
I used to want one of those really expensive that when I was like
Oh no, the
17
special
that was like
VFX
189.
No, the special VFX ones are
Yeah.
really like, but yeah, like I recognize the helmets. And
I was
stuff.
going to say I also have Wrecker's Tukey.
Nice.
I don't know if you guys
from
remember when Spencer's used to sell like stuff like that, and it had
So
they had a
yeah, like it's not
the
like
$189 one on the wall. That's the one I used to really want.
those are different. The ones like, but
These
yeah,
ones
no,
have removable
glass
blades.
ones. There's a glass one. Yeah.
yes,
The
They're
glass
not-
ones.
those are
Yeah.
the
Because if you're saying the Spencers, no, these are not bongs.
no the
What?
ones.
No. What I'm talking about when I was 17. 17.
Oh, yeah.
And
No,
when
the
Spencer's
ones
before it became
you're-
completely perverted, it was used to have them displayed. They were $189.
No, the
I
ones you're
really wanted those.
no, the ones you're thinking of are the really good ones that actually you can fight with them like that. But they're
Yeah,
really
that lit up like that.
expensive. They're really
Yeah, and
dang
that's a
expensive.
lot. That was a lot when I was 17. $189 is a lot for it.
No, I think
But
they're
I-
more.
No, from when I was younger, 17. You're not listening.
No.
The age I was 17 and they were $189. Like my Uklas, they were $89.99 when I was 18 when I bought them. So that's what I'm trying to say. Is that's what I used to want.
my main collection. I'm kind of an OCD collector. And I don't collect half-ass. I don't just like collecting bits and pieces. I get too into it. I actually had to sell my Lego collection because Lego's expensive.
It's expensive.
Well, and it's just there's too much. My main thing now is Hot Toys, which is more expensive.
Hot Toys? What Hot Toys is in it?
They're these figures, the 1/6 scale, highly detailed.
Oh yeah, I see those at GameStop and yeah.
No, they're not even at GameStop. There's a website.
They're not.
They're like.
Well, I mean, I was trying to think of the comic book store I go into for Gabby's. She has like stuff. I have I have Mystique.
So here's what I have to ask too, because a lot of what it is, right? It's not that there's two sides of Star Wars, I find. Because if you go back to, it's like the old Galaxies discussion, they say Jedis broke galaxies with a combat. You forget you can tell stories in Star Wars that don't have to deal with the Sith or the Jedi. They can be about bounty hunters. That's actually some of the best storytelling outside is the story of Boba Fett going into Legends. Like, he goes from being like a bounty hunter to like being like a junior Hutt. Like, then he rebuilds Mandalore.
Boba, yeah, because I was going to say, in Legends, Jango Fett was a Mandalore. He was leader of the Mandalorians. Boba Fett eventually became Mandalore. He had family. He had a granddaughter who, just the
his
whole
daughter, his daughter reunited.
And his there's many stories about him running into clones because one of the clones sort of got revenge against him by sleeping with his ex-wife, right, or wife at the time. There are so many good stories about Mandalore in general. Like if you go back to Old Republic era, when you talk about the old Mandalore, the Indomitable, Shea Vizsla, if you talk about all those are some of the best stories. Not everything needs to be Jedi Sith, and you can still have Force powers without being Jedi Sith, because there's many cults. There was dark side cults who weren't even Sith or referred to as Sith. They just more focused on the dark side of the Force. I would love more stories to go. I would love more stories to go back to the Old Republic, or even beginning, like the whole Boken, like from Rebels.
That could be interesting.
It might be cool to see who the first Jedi was, like they were ever first. That'd be kind of cool, like historical, like type thing.
The thing about expanding on the lore, like where let's say hypothetically, like Andor did it. Like I actually was in a minority. I actually liked Rogue One.
Yeah.
Rogue One was.
I liked it as well.
But
that was my favorite Star Wars.
My son just said he liked it. My son just told me he liked it.
I liked it because it was Star Wars, but it was it was on my. They were on my lore on my list.
He said he hated Rise of Skywalker. That was like he said that's when he stopped liking Star Wars. I was just talking to my son. He said Rise of Skywalker was the worst, but with all this new stuff that's coming out, it makes Rise of Skywalker look amazing.
So the thing about it is, right, with like when Disney did it, Rebels, I'm sure that, and this is disagreeable. Even though Rebels was made for kids, Rebels brought adults. There were adults that liked Rebels.
Oh, because it died more into the lore than Clone Wars even did.
Like Clone Wars is good.
Clone Wars is good. Rebels is good.
But it made more sense. Like, it's not like Disney was entirely dishonest.
I'll be right back.
Sorry. So the concept, right, I have on Star Wars, right, depending on how longer, is he brings up points that we thought this was going to be about the Sith. When you think the Acolyte, you're thinking of an Old Republic period where the Sith were in hiding, rebuilding the Order, maybe destabilizing the Order. Because you remember the weird, bizarre line, it's wasted by the mother? That arrogance or delusion is going to get the Order killed? Like, that part makes sense. There's parts in the show that have ingenious writing. Like, I like some of the saber combat. Like the Wookiee fighting made sense. Like when they mind controlled the Wookiee, that type stuff. I feel that was actually good. The forest battle scene could have been done better. But you're talking a small part of the show that so I feel like the show does have promise. It had promise. There's parts that some of the fans like Stupendous Wave is a prime example that he mentioned he watched. They were going to do a whole deep dive into Sith lore. But that changed. They shelved it because that killed any momentum. Generation Tech talked about the lore. Gretsley talked about it.
So now, I will ask you, DLORD. I think we talked in length about Acolyte. Once he gets back, we will let him know we are kind of done with Acolyte. But what would be your grade out of 10 for this episode of the Acolyte?
I think it's legit the worst. It's literally right up there is the worst. It ranks up there with 3 with me.
I agree. I'd say it's worse. It's like by far the worst episode we had so far. For me, that'd be a 3 out of 10. What about you?
Me? Mandalores. No, I would say like it's easily the worst up there. But the worst show this show makes is it doubles down upon what makes the show, why people hate the show. Legitly. Why people dislike it. You don't double down on bad writing.
I agree. So
does that make sense? And that's what they did in this episode. You could have easily taken episode 3, maybe cut down a part and fully explained it. So it was an electrical fire in a wall that actually started to cause the place to burn down. It still doesn't answer why the reactor blew up. And the whole thing of, well, the sisters require a sacrifice. But they do answer about the twins. The twins are one being, but they are virgins. But this is all lost in bad writing, bad storytelling.
Yeah. So I lost track. So what did you say was your grade out of 10 for this episode?
I put it like 2 if I'm nice.
Okay. So Gray, welcome. How are you, Gray?
Hey, doing good. But you think people didn't like Rogue One? It was like one of the most popular one. I think it has like an 88% like fresh rating or audience score.
Well, the problem with
Rogue everyone
One,
loves it.
Let me say this. The issue with Rogue One was it disables the myth of how they found the Death Star plans. All those poor Bothans. No, it was just it was a bunch of rebels wannabe.
Not rebels.
It wasn't a popular
Scoundrels.
one.
Different people. I don't know if they were necessarily all rebels. It was a ragtag group. But
you had a force-sensitive, blind Asian monk?
Yeah, that's not a rebel. Dude, he's just part of a ragtag group.
So the thing about it is, and this was how Disney Wars was figuring itself out, not everybody hated Disney Wars. Not everyone did. Because he said he watches Stupendous Wave. I've watched Stupendous Wave for years. Gretzley, Generation Tech. Now, I'll say this about Star Wars Theory. Most people don't like him because he's always been like that weird grifter thing outside, but he did a really good Vader fan film. Really good, where he did his stuff.
My biggest issue with Star Wars Theory is you listen to him, and he is the Star Wars if you listen to him. Like, it's his view is legit. Anyone who counter or believes something different than he does is wrong.
He's gotten better over the years, because you said you watched Stupendous Wave.
I used to watch.
Did you ever watch? He's still good. Did you ever watch Eckhart's Ladder?
That same name sounds familiar.
Generation Tech.
Again, I don't. My memory sucks. They do sound familiar.
It's all cool. Thank you a lot for sharing. Now Gray has arrived, so we will be brief. This is the very end of the Acolyte as of right now. We will close off the Acolyte with Gray's thought on this current episode. What did you think of episode 7?
Yeah, it's not great. It's sad because like it is a time that could be cool to actually see depicted, and like the whole premise of the show could be cool, but the payoff, man, if you're gonna do like this whole like Rashomon thing where you see an event from 2 different perspectives and then you're supposed to have more context and it's supposed to recontextualize everything the second time you see it, it needs to pay off, and everything kind of like worked up to this, and it's not a good payoff. It doesn't really make sense. Everything that I thought people were being a little bit harsh on in the beginning for like, they're not explaining this. It's like, yeah, but that could be because they're doing this mystery box thing and then they're going to explain it. Well, they explained pretty much everything they set up in this last episode, and it was not a good explanation. So I don't know, man. It just makes the whole thing a disappointment since it's all kind of hinged on this, and there's like 1 or 2 more little mysteries they're going to show next time. So I don't know.
Okay. What would be your grade out of 10 for this episode?
So I think you guys are being harsh when you're saying like this is the worst episode. Like, come on, 3 was so much worse than this. At least you get like a Wookiee with a metal detector in this one. That's what everybody always wanted out of Star Wars.
But the acting and the effects were horrible for it. When he was doing the force pull with it, it just looked so half-assed. Like it was like,
yeah, but you've only seen clips, man. Like,
I'll come back.
I've been listening. I've been listening for a minute. You seem to actually care for Ahsoka, and you liked the book of Boba Fett. So I don't know, man. Like I would rate this one above those for me. Those are pretty low for me. Same thing with Obi-Wan. Like it had a really cool saber scene at the end, but like I don't know. To me, it just ruined way too much.
Actually,
but I would rank this slightly above it for some of the things that they're doing. Everything else is like not paying off for me. So I don't know, man. I don't think you could get the full effect of this show from just clips.
Well,
but
yeah, I agree with you.
They're not making it amazing.
I think, though,
it's not a great show, man.
No,
like they hinged everything on this mystery, and the payoff is not great.
No, but Gray, I want to ask this though. You see, like when you see the Wookiee fight, I think the only reason I would give this episode a 3 or a 4.
The Wookiee has a name. It's Cal
It's
Malka,
actually
sir.
because of the Force abilities. You finally see what the sisters or the witches' abilities are. Because it
and that's the shit part of it too. Because like it could have been so cool. So Manny Jacinto, the stranger, the one who's the Sith guy, they do a throwaway line from this DLORD character who says like he's in your head. So you're thinking, okay, so maybe he's using that in this fight. But then they show you what this like in your head thing is, and he couldn't be using that on them in the fight. That isn't explaining why the Jedi aren't really fighting that well. It retroactively ruins some other things. It's like, well, maybe they could have played that off with this one line. They did not. Yeah, man, it's all a huge disappointment. They're hinging on this mystery, and it was really bad. And apparently, like the first draft of season 1 wasn't supposed to have the stranger or Manny Jacinto in it at all. It was just supposed to be the Witch Covenant and the Jedi's coming to it. I have no idea how that would have worked, and that would have been so horrible. I think this stranger character is kind of the coolest thing that this has added to the lore. He's kind of the only character that I even give a shit about in this show. Sadly, they really don't do any good characterization, but I'm kind of interested in his motivations, and apparently that's going to be like a season 2 thing. So it's never going to happen.
I think
you won't get it.
This is what I said. No, he wants to end this. Okay, here's what I said too, because so Gray, like the concept I liked is because I disagree. Like apparently Corel, who is kind of insufferable every time you've seen her, she tells her May, who goes, there's 2 things that really irk me. She's like, oh, she's the one who said, do not let your sister leave with the Jedi. And then she does like the do the whole thing.
Oh, Mother Coral. I was like, who the hell is Corel? It took me so long to like.
Coral, yeah.
Sorry, the other mother.
Then she tells her to like get angry. This is how you tap into the dark side of the Force. Yeah. And then she has either the mind control that she set the fire, and it's like they explain more. It's doubling down on why the mining facility exploded doesn't make sense. Now,
at the same time, none of it makes sense because so an entire witch coven gets killed like that way, like that doesn't make any sense.
Actually,
but Mother Coral got out of there, so she's floating around somewhere in Mistborn.
So the idea too, which is weird as well, because this creates another plot hole, a massive plot hole, is like, Coral possibly escaped, but.
Not possibly. She did, man. That's going to be the big reveal in the next one.
Do you remember why in episode 3 when the witches were found dead by Soul? It was apparently Indara that forced the connection, and people are like, she gained control and snapped their necks.
I don't think it's even that, because it shows them none of their necks were snapped. They just all fall over for no reason after.
As I said before.
I don't know. And then there's a bunch of shit that's not going to get paid off. Like Kalnaka's, the Wookiees' hut is all, which the hut is like a crashed spaceship because they had to exile themselves out into the woods because they've taken, I don't know, so much mental abuse from this situation, which maybe if they had like a whole bunch of witch personalities like still living in their head or something, that would make sense. But none of that will ever get paid off. None of that will ever be explained. Why all those witch symbols, the spirals were all over Kelnaka's. None of that will ever be paid off. It really sucks. It feels like there was some potential here and just nothing.
Make sense that the witch coven, because, and I'll say this too, how do you feel the payoff is that they go, we're not evil. They say, there is a witch coven, or Night Sisters, as they call them. But then the Jedi know that Force covens or like that can lead to the dark side potentially.
Yeah, okay.
Everything about it is bad. The whole reason, the whole payoff of like why these guys would be so affected by this event, how responsible they are for it, every part of it is a letdown. It sucks because there's some potential. I want to see the High Republic. I don't feel like we got to necessarily see that here, but this would have been like the end of the High Republic, the last 100 years. So like when the theocracy ends to get to wherever we are in the prequels, where the Senate's over them, that could be a really cool thing to see. But the other thing that was proposed, or at least told, is, but this is going to be from the Sith point of view. It was not. Like, I guess Osha is going to turn to the Sith, but still, I don't feel like this is the Sith point of view. I mean, it kind of is, but it was not a good mystery.
There's no mystery. The whole show is so bloody predictable, which is another reason it's so bad. Like,
well, you haven't seen it, so
it didn't have to be. He's not wrong. There isn't anyone who's saying like this is a great mystery. Like I will endorse this. I was just saying. I think it was even last week. I was saying like, if this payoff doesn't work, it retroactively ruins basically everything. But a lot of people's complaints, like the fire, like rock doesn't start on fire, metal doesn't start on fire. They could have explained that. Tiamat brought up like the Force pyrokinetics. Like, yeah, it could be something like that, but no, it's just nothing. Like everything that people were saying, it isn't just we had to kind of put that aside and we had to put this characterization aside so that we could have this mystery. the mystery sucks. Like it's not a good payoff on anything. So it just everything that was a trade-off, the characterization, why you know characters' motivations, none of that actually works now. It's not
And there's
good.
the other
But
thing.
that being said, I think it's a better episode than you guys are saying. I would give it at least a 4. 3 was so
Okay.
much worse, man. It had the singing, the power of one, the power of two, the power of many. That chanting made that whole episode worse than this.
So okay, let me say this too, because
No, DLORD, I'm sorry. I will cut you off here right now at that moment. We talked for 2 hours of the Acolyte. So this officially the transition. Pick some notes for next week if you want to add more on that. We will talk about it next week anyway. So now we will transition into the boys. So DarthMandalore, are you into the boys?
I watched the first season. Was going to watch this. I was going to watch the second season. From what I've heard, it just says every season has gone downhill. So I kind of
4 is a return to form in my books, but that's true about 2 and 3.
I'm going to head out for now.
Yeah. Thank you a lot, Mandalore. I liked your input, and
Okay,
I'm excited about next week because you will have seen all 8 episodes next week.
And
that's
here
amazing.
in the side chat for anyone who wants to. It's my Twitter, and that's the best way to get in contact with me.
Perfect. So I will follow you right now. Oh, okay, perfect. So I followed the wrong one. So I just followed you, and
There's
you
a
can
sec.
follow me
I have
back,
2
and we will
accounts.
text each other basically about next week and such. So anyway, thank you a lot, Mandalore. That was very fun talking to you. I've never seen a Star Wars fan as big as you. You have so much mark. I'm impressed.
right.
Anyway, have a great night. Take care.
All right, talk to you guys later.
And now we transition into the boys. That was interesting. So again, we'll talk about Acolyte next week as well. So you can have some notes, DLORD, for next week if you really want to add more on that.
See, I'll have to like hear. Now the thing I'll say this on the boys, like I think my theory they're trying to speed run. I told you before they're trying to speed run the boys because I think they know they got one more season left in them.
They do. They said 5 would be the end.
I think they have 2, so you're having to speed run. I was filling in, and I don't want to spoil to people if you've not seen the boys and what they're probably going to modify from the comics. There's events that happen in the comics that they're adapting, and they're adapting it right, and they're going to have to speed run because in theory the comic didn't end when the boys defeated Homelander. There was another part. Basically, they're going to either this episode or the next. I should begin this by saying they do take like the okay, you went to okay,
So
you guys take over. So
since DLORD is occupied, Dre, what did you think of episode 7?
Yeah, not the biggest fan of it. I don't know. It wasn't the worst episode, but I don't know. I guess it's a little bit of setup. So I don't know. The last couple episodes have been a little over the top for me. I'm not a huge fan of the sex dungeon thing from Tech Knights, but I don't know. I guess I like the Tech Knight character. I guess I like the obsession with holes thing. So that was okay, but I don't know. With this one, there's elements of it that seemed okay to me, and then a couple elements that seemed over the top. Like the whole puppet show thing, the whole song, all that just seemed like it was, I don't know. It just seemed way over the top. Like it was, I guess the left's caricature of the right. It just seemed like really, really over the top to me. But I don't know. I guess people have been complaining about that for quite a while. But this one is just like, oh, come on. It felt like it was okay when it was just coming from like one character, like Firecracker or whatever, but this seemed to be like the entire news network getting this thing ready. Where, yeah, I would not say that, the equivalent that it's kind of basing it on has gone that far. So I don't know. Parts of it were kind of taking me out, but there's some interesting parts. We finally get to see like soup on soup fights. We haven't seen that for a minute. I guess it was really only Starlight, but still, it set up some things for me, but I guess I wanted a little bit more action to happen out of this one. So, yeah, I'm kind of looking forward to next one, which isn't this like the penultimate? Isn't this episode 7 and there's only 8 this season or something?
Yes, so next week is basically the last week we do that kind of streams. So that'd be amazing to have you both again next Friday about that. And
definitely try to.
If there's a better time for you, just let me know as soon as you know there's a better time, or we can push it to Saturday because I really want to put every single thing on our side so we can have that final talk about Acolyte and the boys.
Yeah, well, I think I would have a much better idea. That was just the one thing that it's like, because they were doing this mystery thing, it's like, is it going to pay off? Maybe these things that you're saying aren't explained are part of the mystery, and it doesn't seem like they are. It does seem like it is bad storytelling, but I wasn't sure if it was just the way that they're doing it. It just seemed like if you're doing a mystery like that, weekly half-hour episodes are not the way to do it. It should go in like one chunk as a movie or get all dropped at the same time. So then you would have the criticism of whether it's bad at writing or not. But yeah, I'll totally admit I was wrong on this one. That was bad writing. But as far as the boys go, I don't know. I guess I was just hoping a little bit more would happen. Like there was a battle at an office with a full-on chain gun, and nobody got hurt. Like the Deep was holding his elbow for a second, and that's about it. So I guess I just wanted a little bit more out of this one. But hey, it's the penultimate, so they're saving it for the finale next week. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that one. Is that a bad episode? Just I think it's a little bit lower than a lot of the other ones from this season for me.
That's very interesting. I had a different experience. I'd say this one is in the middle. I thought this season, the first 2 episodes were probably the worst ones. If I go back to my notes, I think some of the earlier episodes were kind of rough, but I also think like in the back half, it really picked up for me and it became much better. Like the 3rd episode was really good, but again, I feel like the first few episodes were the weakest this season, and I will repeat what I said. I feel like the back half really is a return to form to the show. I really enjoy what's going on, and with this 7th episode, I only had one issue. They overplayed the joke with the body fluids. It wasn't really funny anymore. It's like, oh, he cannot talk without shitting everywhere. Oh, look at that. Look at that. Like
that was web fluid.
Yeah. That was like, it took like forever. And I feel like they were like, you'll laugh at that one. This is funny. Laugh, laugh, laugh. You're gonna laugh. It's funny. I was like, man, and again, I was a defender of the dungeon stuff because I felt like the dungeon stuff was really to push Yui over the edge, to showcase how dedicated he is, and that was also to break him. He needed something like that hardcore to be destroyed and wrecked, to admit, look, I'm not feeling well, I'm destroyed, I'm broken. So I stood behind the dungeon stuff last week, even if I'm not really into that. But that entire body fluid is just no. I'm not saying it's going
that's a weird hang up on your part then, because I'm just saying, man, actually like showing essay is definitely different than like web fluid just falling out. I don't know, man. That's a weird personal preference, but
it's because he's not a
funny,
good character.
The fact
he's a bad character.
Yeah, he's supposed to be. He's addicted to heroin. He's a junkie who will say anything. But he knows that he's about to die, and he's scared, literally, into relieving himself of his web fluid. But man, it worked for me. I got to say, like the first couple times it did it, it was not funny. And then just seeing Anthony Starr, Homelander's like expression when it just keeps happening again, it got me. By the end of it, I was laughing.
I mean,
You see, I got the reverse, but I agree with you. Like the actor Anthony Starr is carrying the show on his shoulders, but that scene went for too long. But I do get your point. I like the actor so much. I think the casting is just amazing with this show. It's just like we got the Acolyte that has like these corn actors, and we got like the boys that have actual good actors. It's like all smashed together. It's like that's all.
Hey man, there's some good actors in the Acolyte. I don't think they were given much to work with, but the dude who plays DLORD is not a bad actor. I've seen him in Russian Doll and a couple other things. Zhang Jie Li, the dude who plays Soul, that dude is awesome. Like, he's actually giving emotion. Manny Jacinto, that dude is amazing in this. Like, I honestly can't think of anybody else doing that particular turn. And then the one who's, now I can't think of her name, but Jackie X23. Dude, that was a pretty decent performance. They gave zero for those actors to do anything with character-wise. And I kind of cared for some of them. There's some actors in there. There's just not writing. There's better writing on The Boys, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. But yeah, my only issue was that entire sequence with the foot. It was just a big joke that went on for way too long. Outside of that, I had a blast this week. A-Train is my favorite character. I think I've said it last week. I will say it again. And I hated this character. Like, I thought in season 1 he was great because that was the first time we got to see him, and I was like, that's a really cool character. And then they kept doing the same shit with him like for 2 seasons in a row. But now they finally did something with A-Train, and I like it. I like every second of it. Like, going into this episode, I was looking forward for my A-Train moments, and I was satisfied with what I got. Him finally outing himself as being like a good guy and standing up, and like in the very end he was like, Ashley, let's run together. It was wow. A-Train is just the cool character. He is my favorite character, and I like Homelander as well.
He will be missed.
Yeah.
No, I don't think
I'm just
he's
saying, man. Like, you
don't-
can't stand up to the 7. Come on. It's just a matter of time now.
I don't think he's 100% gone.
He will die. I'm telling you, he will die.
He is supposed
You can't
to.
double cross Homelander. Come on.
Yeah,
like, his days are
he will
numbered
get-
at this point.
Yeah, it's a question of like when and how, but yeah, he will die. It's sad, but they did something great with him before they just went in boom. And there's a few things I will mention. Sage also using Black Noir was a nice plot twist for a good joke, because you're like, you don't really expect it because they don't
Not
really
just-
show you.
Not just that, but you get like an awesome bro moment between the Deep and Black Noir. It's awesome. And then that ends with Sage's joke. Man, I got to say, that whole bromance thing was awesome. I enjoyed that this episode.
Yeah.
So I think, though, if you start with the beginning where it goes from the last episode, they are addressing the fact that Billy shows up, because it's, as I said, they're going to have to speed run, because by all metrics, right, Billy the Butcher only has like 22 months left to live, because in this universe compared to the other, he basically only has, he's a ticking clock, basically. That, I mean, I will be honest, this episode felt a little weird, because I looked at it, it's like the Vought with like the kid on the puppet show. Like, now, did you catch the chant or the story they're saying? Like, tell the parents if you see anything.
Yeah, that
if
was
a person's a
groomer
if
stuff.
a person's a groomer, whatever else.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
it's like
it felt
really
over the top to me. Like, I finally felt what the other guys were saying about, like, this is going way too hard. It's caricaturizing the right. It's like, well, it's kind of going after both sides, but I kind of felt that on this one.
Like,
I did
and
feel
the
a little
whole thing is
leftist idea
he's-
of a caricature of the right.
So you get what I'm saying? Like some of the extreme humor, it doesn't. And I mean, it's not like a kids. They say, "Oh, kids need to watch this because this show is MA," but like, and then Ryan's like, "But well, your dad wrote this." But like the puppet, like the lines, because I was streaming myself, and then I was listening to it. I had to stop and pause during my own stream on what I'm doing because I'm like, why would they say this? Like this kind of dialogue.
It
Right?
seemed very ham-fisted for sure. Did that one work for you, Multi? You're saying it like you really liked the back half of this. Did the puppet show seem over the top to you, or did it
Not really.
seem fitting? Yeah, fair enough.
I was okay with it. I was getting where they were getting at because look, 2 years ago, I was kind of like into that very anti-SJW content. Well, actually, it was more like 2 years. Like by the end of 2022, I started disconnecting from their content and such. So I kind of get what they were trying to do. Because I was very heavily like exposed to that kind of content a lot. So I was able to see what they were doing, and I thought we had what 2 sequence of that and a phone call about it. And that phone call, by the way, was great, where you get to see that Homelander is just using his son. It's typical of Homelander to do that, and the son kind of realizing it. And
yeah, the son's reaction to that seemed pretty genuine too. It was you could get the feeling of that for sure. I thought that whole part was awesome. I agree with you. The phone call worked for me. Just the actual puppet show itself just seemed really ham-fisted. I can't think of like a kid show that would actually do that. Like I could see a news show like Firecrackers or whatever, but not a kid show where it's like report your parents if they're like call this number. I get it. Like it is kind of going for the like report the whole paranoia thing, but man, it just seemed over the top to me.
I will stand by it and say that a lot of the anti-woke crowd thinks this is how we should deal with
but
that.
Are they making kids programming, and are they, or would they say that would be grooming? Like I think where I'm having the disconnect, like even with McCarthy era, like where it was really like, you know, there was a House of Un-American Activities committee where they were looking into people's like un-American activities. Like if you had anything communistic, report those people. Even that wasn't going like this far. And I don't think we're there. We're not like at the Salem witch trials or whatever. To me, it just seemed a little over the top to be using kids programming that way, especially if you're accusing people of being groomers. But to each their own. If it worked for you, cool. Then maybe I'm wrong.
Maybe they poke fun. Maybe DLORD, I'm speaking. Thank you. Maybe they are mocking Daily Wire kid shenanigans, conservative stuff. I haven't seen that, but I feel like maybe that would
put any
be
political
kind of
stuff into it. From what I've seen, they're saying that they don't do that, and I haven't seen anyone who actually is like bringing forward anything like that. It's just why it seems like way over the top. Where, you know, like there is kind of an argument that like there are non-binary, like, you know, Muppets on Sesame Street and shit. So it's like, it does seem like there is children's programming going one way, but I'm not seeing like, you know, report all commies or whatever. I'm not seeing that in children's programming, but it is a fictional world. So I don't know. That's maybe why it seems a little over the top to me.
Yeah. Now I got other few things I think are worth mentioning. Deep Drama was sad since he's too stupid or in denial. Maybe a mixture of both. Like the
how many tragic octopus do we need to see? Like, come on. I feel like they did that before.
Yeah. I think you caught up, Gray. Still with us, Gray?
Yeah, so I was just saying, how many tragic octopuses do we need to see? Like, I feel like this is that same storyline, only now he's in control of it. I don't know. I feel like I could have done without it.
I will be honest. There's a blank when it comes to Deep for me. Like, I never really enjoyed this character, even in season 1. And season 2, I felt like he was that wash out guy, and that was the same kind of deal with season 3. But here I feel like they did try to do something, but again, it's a blank. The Deep, I never really gave a shit about him, but now I actually care a bit more about him. Maybe it's because I took a break between like 3 and 4. Well, I've seen 1, 2, 3 like all back to back, like in like 3 weeks, because we were covering like weekly the Boys. So like week 1 we covered season 1 and vice versa. Maybe that's why now I care more, because like I had a break of him. I don't know, but I felt sad, man. I also enjoyed the theme of forgiveness and moving on. That was kind of uh, written in places. Homelander still being selfish was well told during the scene with the phone call. This I already mentioned. Well told how Sage doesn't care about Deep. And yeah, these are like some of the big highlights that I feel like are very worth mentioning. But again, there's so many things I liked about this episode. But because I talked in length, like I will summarize. Like, I liked every subplot and every scenes we had this week. And if it's in the middle, it's just because I feel like we had better episode this season. And this episode had really great moments. So I think it's a very solid one. And I will leave it at that for now, and I will let DLORD talk, since he's the last one that didn't really talk about this episode. And please keep it to the episode, DLORD. I think like we did enough of these tangent left and right. So what did you think of the episode overall? DLORD? Are you still with us, DLORD? Are you still with us, DLORD?
I'm just muted. No, it's not about the whole thing, right? This episode starts with like the Deep having the emotional connection with his support octopus.
Yeah.
Which is in the actual comic. Like, in the comic, he is kind of a sexual deviant.
Yeah.
That
well,
is
he is also like that in the show with Starlight and such, and like based on some of the scenes they did with 2 and 3. So I think this is faithful to the material, but I will let you go on. Sorry.
They're trying to be very so it's trying to get to the point on how they can actually get Homelander to snap. So Homelander is going to have to get to the point he breaks. And the question is how they're going to do it. I see how they're going to do it, potentially, because he's looking for the leak. Because he's like, well, Sage is not lying to me or whatever else. And you get to the point where the uncomfortable scene with Webweaver or whatever, and he gets ripped apart. Like, that doesn't bother me as much as they think that's the leak. Then Sage goes, well, you killed him? I've known A-Train's a leak the whole time. I've been using him. And Homelander's like, you knew? You're lucky I don't send you back home. We'll go back home in your litter box kind of thing. He goes, we're going on a plan. A-Train was a good leak. He was only leaking what I wanted leaked. And it's Homelander trying to assert control or do the thing. Because it gets weird to me, like with the thing with the puppet show. So the puppet show is like it, but I will say on that before I forget, it rang to me like a 50s or 60s PSA with like the Americans committee of like un-American acts that you would see in television shows, combined with weird stuff like you want the parents to tell on the kids to tell on the parents. Like there's lines like, "Oh, are you an anti-vaxxer or are you this?"
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because you get to the episode, right? Homelander's to that point of he sees he has to do stuff.
Yeah.
And it's like he at one point, even when he dismisses Sage, he kicks Firecracker out, even when he tempts her. She tempts her. Or tempts him, I should say. Yeah, it's late. But it's a good episode. Like this is like a penultimate episode, I guess next season. They're going to do the whole January 6th joke. The skin shifter thing is interesting.
Yeah.
It's a play on another hero that they haven't named. But yeah, I think it's a good episode. It's just a question on how they're going to wrap the show up. At this point, Homelander is carrying the show. There's no... You have Billy, right? You also have the parasite in Billy's head. Apparently, the wife is no longer there. Apparently, Billy's parasite can control him or like give him the silent treatment. Like, that's really good. You know, it's like the concept of, but it's all how they pay it off. You can make the edgy political satire, but the question is, how do you do it?
Yeah.
But that's my thoughts. And I give the episode pretty much, it's 8 out of 10. It's a very good episode. I think by the way, before the fight with Black Noir, who, it does answer the question, what powers did they give him? The reason why the 7...
Seems like kind of everything. They mentioned flying in the last couple, and we got to see it now, so that's fun.
So he is like a miniature version of Homeland. He's like
He's bulletproof. He took a chain gun.
See, technically, the heroes do have a form of invulnerability, except to sound in this universe. It's not like... I think the only member of the boys is the one who's like supposed to be the Martian Manhunter. He doesn't have the invulnerability, but he has like an invincibility shield.
Yeah.
But like in the show, right? The Deep is still has some sort of bullet invulnerability, except for the gills, I guess, if you hit him in the gills.
Yeah, his gills are sensitive, but he took a 45-pound plate to the face. That didn't kill him. So, yeah, invulnerable to a certain degree.
Starlight got beat up, too.
Yeah, that's true. They all got, like, beat down really badly.
So I guess I was just hoping for a little bit more from, like, an office fight with a chain gun and everything. But fair enough. It was entertaining, at least. It was not a wasted action scene.
Yeah.
I'll say this. You're kind of foolish to think a thing of bullets, unless they were like uranium tipped or something, could stop something that's supposed to have armored skin. And let's assume Black Noir's suit is also bulletproof. Because the suit definitely...
It might be. It didn't show any holes in the suit, so you're right.
Like took, like Kevlar or something. Like...
Yeah. So... DLORD already shared his grade out of 10. I think it's my turn now. 9.7 for me out of 10. Really solid. My only issue is quite small. What about you, Gray?
Yeah, to me, it's just a little bit less entertaining than the last one. I think it would be kind of more like the first or second episode this season. But it's building up. So, yeah, I think I'd go like a 7 on it. It's still a decent episode, above average, but yeah, it had a couple things that were drawbacks for me. But, you know, it had the bromance that I didn't know that we needed between Black Noir and the Deep. And I got to say, they seem pretty awesome. I can't wait to see their next buddy move.
They're basically both realizing they're being used by Homelander, or they got both used by Sister Sage. You know.
Yeah.
I agree.
So,
by the way,
I'm looking forward to their antics
before I
in the next
forget,
one.
you missed the little anime notebook that if Homelander picks it up, left on the table.
Yeah, the Maeve one, wasn't it?
Is that the Maeve one?
Wasn't she? So it's Sage's notebook, but I was pretty sure that was Maeve on the cover in kind of chibi anime form, but maybe I'm wrong.
I can't. I'll be honest. I've seen so many things. Like just today, I've seen the boys this morning. Right after work, I did my power nap, and then I went to see Fly Me to the Moon and Long Legs. So I've seen just so many things that I may have missed out a few things here and there. So yeah. Is there anything else guys would like to add on the boys?
No, I'm just looking forward to the actual finale. I trust they're going to do better on this one than the Acolyte did, but we'll see. We'll have known by this time next week.
I think we should. I think if you want to switch up, because I think that both next week are a finales.
Yeah.
That's going to be a little bit, because I suspect the boys is probably going to be, what, this episode was an hour. They might go an hour 30.
Yeah.
So
we will see.
The Acolyte's only doing 45.
Yeah. Anyway, what do you have going on your end of the internet, DLORD?
Mostly chilling. I got my computer up and running, and it's running through it.
Yeah.
I have to get with Gray. We have some specials coming up whenever he wants to figure it.
That's amazing.
And I may actually just, I think post Acolyte, I might go into some stuff, like, because I want to talk about, like, it's not that Disney strikes me as wasted. I'm finding a lot of these franchises.
So much wasted potential.
It's just wasted potential. It's just, you just have to give. I feel bad, like Star Wars fans feel like Star Trek fans did, like after Star Trek Discovery. They just use it as a skin suit. So it's like, first time.
Yeah, we're used to it, man. Just so many disappointments.
That's my thing, though. It's all good, though.
Yeah. Anyway, what about you, Gray? What do you have going on your end of the internet?
Yeah, I'm working on a couple of videos. Just one that I think everyone overreacted about Star Wars being too sexy now. I think it's the right amount of sexy, and I don't think it's OnlyFans content, but people beg to differ with me. So I'm making that video, and then I have another one sort of defending Leslie Headland. I just think it's completely dishonest that people are saying that she used to be Harvey Weinstein's assistant. Yes, she did for 1 year, 21 years ago when she was 19. And at the time, he had either 3 or 4 personal assistants. She's one of many, and apparently she's under so many NDAs, she can't even talk about it to this day. So, yeah, making kind of a video. I went down a weird rabbit hole looking into that. So, yeah, not that I really want to defend her. I don't necessarily like her work, but, man, there's so much more to criticize than just bringing up that one thing. And then, especially with the kind of additional accusations that means she's a bad person forever. I don't know. I don't think we should demonize somebody because of a job that they had 21 years ago, but maybe I'm wrong. You might disagree, and if so, let me know in the comments.
I'm with you,
but
man.
What do you have going on your side of the internet, Multi?
A few Naruto videos, still waiting. The Walking Dead almost to be closed, or I should say almost ready. Speaking of, did you finish Walking Dead?
I didn't. I almost finished season 9, or the second to last. Yeah, there's 10, right?
11.
9. I got like, sorry, I almost finished 10. I've got like the finale on that one left, and then I'll get 11 done. So I'm hoping by next week I'll have that.
Okay, perfect. Well, this is happening eventually. I also have Lucifer in the making eventually when I will get the time. 2 weeks from now, well, actually 1 week and a half, I should say. Tuesday the 23rd, there's a bonus episode of the Red Blue podcast for season 6, teasing it before the season is really ready. We will be covering 2024 movie. I think it's Longlegs, Bike Riders, and The Watchers that will be covered. Or it's not Longlegs and it's Fly Me to the Moon. I actually forgot which one of the two I cover first. I know I cover both. The next one will be in August by the end of the month. So, yeah, this is coming soon. More gaming content because I got more free time. And hopefully we will have a few behind the scene talk for the season 6 of the Red Blue podcast. Next week, Wednesday, Window to Our Mind. Friday, we got no, not Friday. Yeah, Friday. Friday we got Acolyte and the Boys, except if the guys want to do it Saturday. Then Saturday I have 2 shows, the Acolyte, and the other one will be movie mainstream shenanigans where we talk about twisters, tornadoes, tornadoes, the movies. Anyway, yeah, thank you to the both of you for coming. That was amazing. Because we had Ms.sparkles at some point, because we had DarthMandalore, and Gray came in by the very end at the perfect moment. I think this was hands down my favorite stream in a long time. That was amazing. Last stream I liked that much was like Black Panther and like Ragnarok, because we were 7. Anyway, this shall be the end. Thank you a lot, everyone. Don't forget to let us know what you think of the Acolyte and the Boys mini timestamp. This is the end.